Welcome back to Straight Facts on Tuesday. I'm joined by the brilliant Dan Potts. I've got LB in the house. We have a lot to talk about today. We haven't actually had you two together for about 2 weeks now, actually. One of you's been missing the last 2 weeks.
I know, yeah.
Yeah,
it's
good,
weird, man.
Good to have you both back.
It's mad as well, because I was in Belfast and the week after we went to Dublin.
Yeah, I need to ask you, Pottsy, who was the lady you were with?
Yeah, do you know what? Everyone thinks I've got a new missus. I mean, listen, I'll be punching if that is the case. But no, she's not my missus, man. I've known her for about 20 years. You know, when you like work with someone, you're just like best buds with them. Do you know what I mean? That's what it was. And she's like,
you're in the friend zone. You're telling us you're in the friend zone.
Well, do you know what? I've been in the friend zone for about 20 years, bruv, with her, to be honest. So yeah, it's not. You think it's something happened by now? Do you know what I mean?
No, I've got a couple of say girls. There were girls when I met them. We were all like 16 when I joined Barclays, like young. That we all still friends now, but it's like weird, just known them 20 odd years. I get you, mate. I just weren't sure the way you were tweeting. I was like, oh, is that your way of saying it's your missus without saying it? I just weren't sure. So I thought I'm going to ask him.
What was funny was because I put a couple of bits up on my social media, and then she'd put something up saying, known each other for 18 years, one of our best buddies, stuff like that. And then everybody had replied going, oh, that's a shame. We thought it was your missus. So I know everyone's like genuinely down for you. I was like, mate, it's cool. Don't worry about it. But yeah, no, it was good. If you haven't been Dublin, go. It's unbelievable, man. It's absolutely class. I've got to be honest. It's a brilliant place, man.
I'm over that way all the time. Like my son literally lives in the middle, basically in the middle of the two places you two are at. So I'm over there a lot. Lovely place. Yeah, lovely place, Ireland. Lovely place. And
yeah, it is, man.
Yeah. Look, loads to talk about today. We're talking Man United transfer disasters, according to a lot of United fans online. Chelsea after another young starlet. We're going to be getting views. We're going to be getting opinions on that live on the air. We're getting Potsy's view on the Sesko and Gyokeres dichotomy. We're talking Isak. Liverpool fans really pushing this notion that the Isak deal is on. It could be. We're not playing it down. We're going to have an opinion. Thomas Partey reportedly leaving Arsenal as well. But I wanted to start with Chelsea, gents, because they've got Delap, who looked encouraging last night on his debut. We know they're in for Gittins, and Fabrizio has tweeted about Gittins again today, saying that he is not making himself open to any other clubs. He wants Chelsea. So it looks like they're going to get him. But last night, both Ornstein and L'Equipe, very, very strong source from France, said that they are in and making verbal offers towards Malik Fofana, another 20-year-old wide player, can play left and right to bolster their attack. LB, I'm going to go to you first because you seem like you want to go.
Bro, it's just funny. I love the chat, man, on this street. It's just funny.
Are you laughing at the same comment I'm laughing at?
Which one?
The LB being massive with the little... That is the best comment I've seen, man. The size of that Coke. What is that?
LB's a giant. That's all it is.
I've just headshots off. Yeah, Chelsea. I think I said it when they signed him. First of all, I think the signing of Delap's a top signing. I think he's going to be a top player. I know Potsy rates him, but I rate him high, man. I've seen this guy in his City Academy come through, seen him at City. He didn't get too many chances at City, but I remember one game he played against Bournemouth, scored a brilliant goal on his weak foot as well. Never got a chance after that. And he's had a few injury problems since then that's like really kept him from sort of like breaking into any first team. He's obviously gone to Ipswich. I thought he'd done quite well in obviously a poor Ipswich side. And I reckon he'll do well. I reckon he'll do quite well at Chelsea. Now, obviously, they need more, as we spoke about many times on this show. Chelsea need more, and here's the thing: I think they need to be buying serious quality players now, like world-class players or close to that, because it's all well and good getting a Delap up front, and like I say, I think that's a good signing for Chelsea. But the fact is, he is still young, he is still fairly unproven. And I think he scored 12 goals last year for Ipswich, and some of them were pens. So for me, yeah, Chelsea got to be supplementing that team now with some top quality players. Gittins, another City player, another former City player, funny enough. Again, good player. But I ask you guys, what is the target now for Chelsea this season? Because for me, it should be to win the league. That should be the target. Now, obviously, they might not do it, right? But they've just finished top 4. They won the Conference League. surely now the target will be to win the Premier League or get as close as possible. And I look at the signings that obviously I look at the target of Gittins, and I don't think that pushes Chelsea closer to the title. I look at the way that they handled the goalkeeper situation from AC Milan. Very poor, in my opinion. I think they should have just paid the money and got him in ahead of the Club World Cup. So I don't know. I look at Chelsea, me lads, and I just think to myself, what are their expectations going in for this season? What are they targeting? Because I know what my club's expectations are. I know what Arsenal's expectations are. I know what Liverpool's expectations are. And for me, Chelsea should have the same expectations. I'm looking at them and I'm thinking, are they just going to be happy again to get top 4? Is that what they're trying to do here? So, yeah, I don't know, man. Like, on one hand, I've given him credit. I think Delap's a great signing and I think he's going to do well. But Gittins, for me, is not at the level that I think they should be looking at. I don't like the way they've handled this goalkeeper situation. I'd be fuming if I was a Chelsea fan. I think they should have just paid him to get him in. And I think they could do with an extra defender in there as well, at least one. So I don't know what Potsy thinks, man. But yeah, I'm a little bit like, at the moment, I've got City, Arsenal, Liverpool all in a title race next year, and maybe even Newcastle, depending on what they do. But Chelsea, I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, I think you're just going to be in another top 4 race. I don't see them making signings at the moment to really push them onto a title. I don't know if Potsy disagrees or what. What are you saying?
I agree with every word. Funnily enough, when it comes to Chelsea, I think you and I are on the same wavelength. Is Liam Delap going to get Chelsea to a title? I don't think so. Is he a good signing? Yeah, pretty good. Jamie Gittins looks quite skillful and technically gifted, but is he going to be that guy that everyone frightened coming up against? Project player. Yoel Harto's linked with Arsenal and Chelsea. The difference is he'd be a backup for Arsenal. He'd start for Chelsea, but would he take them to a title challenge? I don't know. And that's where I'm at. I genuinely thought, and I know that people will laugh when I say this and go, oh, LB loves him, he's obsessed with him. I genuinely thought they'd do all they can to get Victor Osimhen. I genuinely believed that they'd go all out to try and get Rodrigo. I genuinely believed they'd go all out to try and get a centre-half like Diomande or Mark Guehi. And I genuinely thought they were going to try and get a goalkeeper in the ilk of Diogo Costa or Mannion. Now, obviously, they tried to get him and he's no longer going for whatever reason they've pulled out. But when I look at some of the players they're going to get instead, like they're going to keep Petrovic in goal unless they get another goalkeeper. They're going to look at getting a centre-back in who's a youngster. They're looking at another youngster winger from Lyon. They're looking at another youngster from Jamie Gittins. Delap's their striker now, not Jackson. I don't know about you boys, but that don't make me believe they're going for a title. I think they're going to try and progress again to get to the next level of Champions League and get closer to a trophy. I don't know, but that squad to me doesn't sound like it's going for a title. Now, of course, there's time for it to change. They could go out absolutely mad now, and Delap and Gittins could be the start, and they go and get another striker. Delap becomes their backup, and another winger, and Gittins becomes their backup. That could happen. They could go and get that centre half like Guehi, like Diomande, and you think, do you know what? Alongside Colwell, maybe they've got a decent centre half partnership there. They've already got their midfield sorted. They get their world-class goalkeeper. Chelsea were going to be serious. There's still time for that to happen. But at the start, I mean, I'm disappointed with Arsenal's start to the window. I think Chelsea should be disappointed with theirs as well, if I'm honest. I mean, I know they've done more than Arsenal, but do they look next season more serious than they did so far? I don't know if they do, man. I don't think they've completed any department of their side yet. And this is where I'll be really livid if I was a Chelsea fan. You've spent that much money and not one area of department of your side looks complete yet, other than potentially your midfield. That is it. You've got no front three that you can rely on. You've got no back four you have confidence in. And you're flipping between goalkeeper to shitter goalkeeper. That is bad when you've spent this much money, bro. Like 1.5 bill, I think it was ULB that said you could spend it better. I think the majority of us on this panel could spend it better. And I'm talking about the first team. When you go and spend this much money on your kids and then you're still buying more kids, and they got enough kids, and they got this Esteval who's going to be the next best thing. Kendrick Paez is coming in to be the next best thing. Apparently up top, they've got this Mark Gui or whatever his name is. Like, why are they buying more kids? Like, what's the point?
Well, you know the answer to that, because obviously they've not developed in the way that they would have liked, or some of them have only just been recently purchased. But for me, I see quite a lot of clubs in the same position this summer, where they've got decent sides, but this summer is the summer to go out there and make the big signings, and it'll be the ones that are bravest, the ones that get the job done, that'll have the success. You know, and I look at Chelsea now. And listen, me and Potsy have criticised Chelsea a lot on this show for a long time, and I think they deserved it, to be honest with you, because 1.5 billion and the squad they've got is still nowhere near complete. However, they're not a million miles away from having a squad that can get in a title race. And the proofs, the pudding, there was in a title race till January last year or something like that, and then obviously they dropped off a little bit. They hit some rocky form. But if they was to go out there and sign, a sort of ready-made left winger, and then a couple of defenders or whatever, and obviously a new goalkeeper, there's no reason why they couldn't be in a title race. And I look at it and I just think to myself, the way that they handled the goalkeeping situation, I just thought was just embarrassing. You've got Sanchez in goal, and I don't want to hear Chelsea fans talk about, oh, well, the guy finished strong or he had a good 5 months. He's a crap goalkeeper, right? Do you know what I mean? He might have hit a bit of decent form, whatever. He's not good enough to be Chelsea's goalkeeper. You have that AC Milan goalkeeper available, right? Now, I don't put him in a top tier bracket, yeah, but he's a solid goalkeeper. He's a solid goalkeeper, yeah. And you could have got him for 20 million, and you're haggling over 5 million, and you pulled out the deal when you've got Sanchez as a goalkeeper. And then they'll say, well, LB, we've got Petrovic, it's all right. So why would you try to sign the AC Milan goalkeeper? You knew you had Petrovic before you tried to sign the AC Milan goalkeeper. So do you not trust him? I just think to myself, when I look at Chelsea, I look at the money they spend, and I go, that club should be one of the best clubs in Europe with the money that they've spent. But the way that they run the football club, the directors, all the sporting directors, the owners, and that, it's just ridiculous. And like I say, if I was a Chelsea fan, I'd just be fuming. And if they go and get this Gittins guy, yeah, I just don't see. I see the transfer business being one of a club that's just trying to get top four again, and that doesn't really have the ambition to try and win the league. I mean, you look at Liverpool, right? They've just won the league. Yeah, they rested on their laurels. No, they've gone out there and spent 120 odd million on Florian Wirtz. They've got Gyokeres lined up. They've got Frimpong done, and now they want a striker. You look at City, lost the league. They went and spent 175 in January. We spent another 100 in the summer buying some good players. We want it back. Yeah, and listen, I think Arsenal, obviously, we'll come on to Arsenal. Arsenal have got Zubimendi lined up. Maybe a couple of others are on the pipeline. There's a lot of clubs here that are trying to do business to win this league. And I just look at Chelsea, man, and just think, nah. And I just think it's going to be another top four. And I just quickly as well, before you come in, Dan, as well, they'd be very careful here, Chelsea. Very careful. Because they got top four and they obviously deserved it, right? But Newcastle ain't going anywhere. Yeah? Villa will come back stronger as well. And you never know. There's always one random team out there, isn't there, that usually puts in a top 5 challenge. And these guys now have got to deal with Champions League. And correct me if I'm wrong, but weren't the first whole phase of the Conference League, didn't they not even include like the likes of Cole Palmer in the squad for the Conference League? Yeah. So they're going to have to deal with that. So all I'd say is, yeah, just be careful in resting on your laurels, because if you stay still, you go backwards.
Facts. If they went and got, right, genuinely, if they went and got Emi Martinez in goal, because there's rumours that he wants to leave Aston Villa, right? Man United and Chelsea find out for him. Let's say they got Emi Martinez in goal. They got Mark Guehi as a centre-half. They went and got Victor Gyokeres as a centre-forward, who's who I want. And they went and got Rodrigo as the left winger. I think me and LB will be on this show going, bloody hell, they're going to go for the title here, Chelsea. Would you agree, LB? That's the sort of summer that I'd go, wow.
Of course, but what have I always told you, Potsy, about transfers? Yeah, it's not all about getting the player in. It's about letting the opposition know that you're serious. Yeah? So I'm looking at this thinking, I'm happy with my club signings so far. I reckon we've got another couple to come, yeah, but I'm happy with my club signings. I'm looking at Liverpool and going, shit, this could be real, could be tricky. I remember when Arsenal signed Declan Rice a few years ago, I sat there going, they're going to be a problem. Yeah. Whereas last year, when Arsenal signed Marino, Sterling, and Calafiori, I knew they ain't winning the league. Yeah, it's about intent. It's about letting rivals know that you better be on your A game for match day 1, mate, because we're serious. Yeah. And I look at Chelsea and I just think you ain't serious. So I think they're going to be in a top 4 race again. And would not surprise me with the way that they're going at the moment is if they didn't even get top 4. It really wouldn't surprise me. But obviously, this is all, caveated with the fact that, the window's still open and things can happen, but we can only judge what's going on right now and their intended targets. And yeah, I wouldn't be happy, man, if I was a Chelsea fan with the way that they're going.
Yeah, do you know what, boys? I I see it from both sides. I really like some of the young players they're looking at because I like you boys said right at the top. I think Delap's excellent. This Fofana kid, United and Liverpool both looking at him as well. Gittins, again, extremely talented. And a lot of Chelsea fans that are defending their approach are saying, and their view is, we don't want to risk the project, but with short-termism. So if we go and buy a couple of star names, like they tried, I think they're a little bit scarred by that summer where they bought Aubameyang, Koulibaly, Sterling. I think there's a little bit of that. And so there are Chelsea fans defending it and saying, well, no, we're going to keep buying young. You've got the first crop of young players that have now been here 2.5, going on to 3 years. They'll be even maturer. They'll be the elder statesmen. The new young players coming through will uplift us. I understand that train of thought. However, there are a lot of Chelsea fans that are fuming. There are a lot of Chelsea fans that are angry, that are looking at this and saying, Gyokeres is available. Osimhen is now available. There are wide players, and I know they said today they've called their interest in Nico Williams, but there are players that are 22, 23, 24, 25 that they could be having a look at. There's rumors that Anthony Gordon is gettable from Newcastle, Premier League proven. They're looking at left and right sided players. Man United are currently leading the race for Mbomo. That's a 20. I know he hasn't won a league title or anything, but that's a 26-year-old who can come into that team, who's Prem proven, he's ready to go from day one. There's a lot of Chelsea fans demanding that. So there also is a real big split in the Chelsea, and you'll see it in the comment sections. I haven't even looked, but I bet the comment section, every other comment is, bang on, boys, you're right. Why can't Chelsea fans see it? The next comment is, stop being salty about my football club. You're just haters in terms of what we're doing. And I think for me, that's a telltale sign here that I would say they're split almost 50-50 Chelsea fans. Some think this approach is wrong. Some are backing it. I think the ones backing it, there's a lot of hope. Is okay, I hope these youngsters start well. I hope that the Caicedos, the Enzos, the Palmers, that age group go up another level this year, because I do think they've got to be expected to challenge for the league title. I think anything other than challenging, if they make top 4 again, great. They're in the Champions League. But if they don't push for it, if they sort of have a season like last year where they start well and then go through 2 or 3 months of absolute obscurity where they fall away from City, Liverpool, Arsenal, they're ahead of maybe the chasing pack of the top 4, but they don't really close the gap on them. It may feel like a little bit of a wasted season. Now, next year, the season after, they might be better because everybody's a year older. But I don't see why the one bit I can't get out of my head, even though I like the signings they're getting, surely there's some players. Mbomo is one that I've mentioned. Anthony Gordon is another. And there are other players available around Europe if you look into it. Just that little bit more experienced, a little bit more know-how that could just be a bit more consistent for you, because I don't think they're far away, Chelsea. I don't think they're a million miles away. I'm not praising them.
No, exactly. And that's the point. But you just said something there, right, which isn't right, which is, I don't know if you're saying it yourself or you just use highlighting the point that some Chelsea fans make is when you've got a young team, oh, well, next year they'll be better.
Yeah.
That doesn't always happen, though, because young players, their performances are volatile. They don't go up in a linear every year like that. You go up and down, up and down. You look at Foden, for example. Up, and then last year, bang, down there. Now, hopefully, he'll go back up there again this year, from my point of view. But young players don't just get better and better and better like that. Otherwise, everyone, and I've always said this, if that was the case, all the best managers that have ever lived would never have signed experienced players. They would have all just signed a load of 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds, because they would have gone, 3 years, we'll have a bunch of 23-year-olds. We'll have them for the next decade. They'll all be the best players. They don't always go up like that. This is the FIFA thing. FIFA's corrupted people's brains into thinking that young players just get better and better. When was Palmer better? Was Palmer better last year or his first season? His first season obviously was better in his first season. So he started off like that, and then last year took a little bit of a dip as well. This is the thing when you just have young players. Their performances are volatile. They don't always just get better. You can't just have a group of young players everywhere. You've got to have some experience in there. And that's all I'm saying. I like the signing of Delap. I think it is risky. And obviously, if I was a Chelsea fan, I probably would have rather have had Osimhen. You know what I mean? But I do think it's a gamble worth taking with Delap, because I do think he's probably going to lead the line for England for the next decade. And I think he's got sky-high potential. But then the left winger, all right, then you've got the young striker. Let me supplement that attack with a little bit more of an experienced player. No, they're going to go and get another 22-year-old who's never kicked ball in the Premier League. And I just think it's too one-dimensional. It's too much driven by the youth. It's too much driven by the data. Do you know what I'm saying? And then obviously you've got Palmer in there as well, who's young. Enzo's still pretty young. I think he's only like 23 or 24. Caicedo's still. They've got such a young team that there's no surprise that they went through that dip in like December, January, whenever it was, when they went on a really bad run. Because they're young players, they struggle to dig themselves out of it.
Don't get it twisted as well. Me and LB, like for those that think we're being salty, don't get it twisted. You think me and LB want Chelsea to sign Osimhen, or we want Chelsea to sign Rodrigo? I'm hoping you don't. I'm hoping you go and get Gittins, and I'm happy you got Delap and not Osimhen or Gyokeres. And I don't want you to go and buy Mark Guehi at the back. I'd rather you go and get a young kid. I'd like you to go and get the young winger you're linked with. But I don't think that's going to take you to a title. So the people that are like, oh, you're just jealous of what we're doing, I'm really not, because you ain't doing much with kids. It's time to go and deliver the players that to get across the line now. Yeah, that's why I'm not really happy with our Arsenal going with youngsters. I don't want to go and buy another Brazilian winger. I want to go and get Rodrigo as a Brazilian winger, not one from the Corinthians who's 19. Yeah, I want to go and get the proper striker up top, whether it be Osimhen or Gyokeres or Julian Alvarez. That's the sort of player I want to be seeing, or Isak if we could dream. I don't want to see Sesko. I don't want to see a young like Jonathan David. So that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at.
This here from Raj says there is no guarantees Chelsea signing big wages, big name players will improve the team. We have done this before with Lukaku, Havertz, Sterling. It is a 50-50 chance.
Well, hang on a minute though, right? So let's use Rodrigo as an example at Real Madrid, right? Would it be more that who'd be more likely to succeed at Chelsea, right? Gittins or Rodrigo? Rodrigo, who's done it multiple times in La Liga for Real Madrid over 4 or 5 years, playing out of position, Champions League, big goals, or Gittins, who's done it for a year. Do you know what I mean? This is like what we're doing here. Because if this is your sort of like starting position, and you're not willing to take a risk, sometimes you have to take a risk and spend big money. City did it with Grealish. Yeah, we spent 100 million on him. Yeah, did it work out? Probably not. Won some titles, whatever. Liverpool are now doing it with Wirtz. Sometimes you have to spend the money. United did it with Pogba. Yeah, sometimes you have to spend the money sometimes. Sometimes it don't work. And you know what? A lot of times it doesn't work. But you have to try.
This is what I would say, though. Also, again, I think there's a risk when you spend big. I think there's a risk when you buy youth. Because if I go back to my club in its pomp, so I'm talking about a really successful period, arguably the most successful 25 years any club in England's ever had, arguably, with the records that were set. We bought loads of very good youngsters. You could think, Wayne Rooney and Ronaldo are probably the standout too. We bought a young Roy Keane. Look how they turned out. But we also bought a lot of youngsters like Bebe. We also brought players through the academy like Darren Gibson. Didn't work out. We spent big on Veron. Didn't work out. Spent big comparatively for Andy Cole. Fantastic. There's swings and roundabouts in this, and the balance is there. My challenge to Chelsea fans defending their sporting directors is you're defending them and saying their eye test, their talent ID, understanding the profiles needed will work. What stops them buying the same talent, the same profiles, but just a couple of years further down the line of development? Not 32 years old, wanting one final payday. I agree. I don't think Chelsea should do that. But what about finding a left-sided attacker who's 23, currently earning 80 grand a week, is 2 or 3 years further developed than, say, a Gittins, 2 or 3 years further developed than a Fofana that has the ability to impact the team straight away? Surely there could be a happy medium here in the conversation. Not to say you agree with LB and Dan, not to say that, but a happy medium, because I'm sure if you lot were signing Anthony Gordon, these boys would have a very different... I'm just throwing it out there. It's not just go buy loads of 28, 29, 30-year-olds of won Champions Leagues. I think that's that's the extreme end of the spectrum. It's just adding more to the team that takes them further forward next year. I get people's challenge. I'd love, Raj, you to understand that. Abdi here says, Neto is a player Dan and LB would have classed as a serious signing, and look how that turned out.
I don't think Pedro Neto is as bad as what they're making out, by the way. I think he's a baller. I just don't think that he's going to be looked at in the same light or alongside. When they get a striker off, I expect Pedro Neto to be a very good player for them. And I actually think he's done all right. I don't think he's been a shambles. I think he's had a bit of an off season. I think he's had a bit of a similar season to what all the front line have had at Chelsea. But I still rate him. I think he's a good player. Some people don't. It's cool. I think he's individually a very
technical. But also, Potsy, when we're speaking about bringing in these players to push them to a league, we're not talking about Neto from Wolves here. Yeah, I'm talking about like the elite level players, the Rodrigos of this world. Yeah, some people put the Rafael Leao in that bracket. I don't personally put him in the bracket, but I'm talking about not the Gittins. Listen, if Chelsea fans want to go down this road and get Delap and get Gittins and get another road of 18-year-olds, fine. But when Liverpool or City win the league, because we've spent money on players like Tijani Reinders and Liverpool has spent 100 billion on Verts, don't start crying about it. Yeah, you can't have it. You can't have cake and eat it, mate. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think they're signing good players. I'm so intrigued to see what Chelsea look like next year. I really am. Joe Shields is the only player from City's academy that came alive. Come alive. Palmer and Lavia. I don't know what you mean.
He means that Joe Shields is the only academy players that come alive under Joe Shields was Palmer and Lavia.
Right. I get you.
To be fair, City have had some other players that have come alive. I mean, Delap's one. Obviously, Morgan Rogers is absolutely loving life at the moment. So I think there has been others, to be honest. I don't know. LB will tell you more than me. I don't know. I can't even remember who was.
Is he just talking about the Chelsea ones? Because they've got Toast in there as well. I don't know who he's talking about here. Do you talk about everybody or?
Oh, okay.
I think he's speaking about just his own academy.
Oh,
Chelsea.
okay, yeah.
No, I hear you. I hear you indeed. A few more comments here. This is from Patrick that says, feels like the target of Chelsea's ownership and the target of the fans seem very far apart. Champions League qualification is probably enough for the owners. Still don't understand buying all these young players. Is it to resell?
Nah, I don't think it's to resell. I think they believe that if you just stockpile a lot of 18, 19, 20-year-olds, then in 4 or 5 years' time, you're going to have a team that can win everything. I personally don't think football works like that. Because
when has it ever worked like that, LB? Name me another team that's done that.
If they think football works like this, then why isn't all the greatest managers in the world just went out and bought a lot of 18-year-olds and just said, we'll just wait for you? I don't think it works like that. I don't think it does. I think when you have young players, they're very volatile. And then, by the way, some of the players that you'll have won't be young. Are they going to sit around forever waiting? It's the same conversations that we always throw at Arsenal. We throw at Arsenal with likes of Salibas and that. We have to throw the same question at Chelsea. You know what I mean? Because we always sit here and we always say, is Saliba going to sit here for the next 3 years waiting? Or is he just going to go, you know what, time's up, lads, I'm going to Madrid? Well, if we do that at Arsenal, it's only fair that we throw it at Chelsea. So, you know, the likes of Palmer, I know he's young, but if he's still sat here in 2 years' time and he ain't won a Premier League or out, is he going to just keep sitting there and go, I'll stay here for the rest of it? No, he might go, you know what, I'll go in it. So I don't think it's for resale. I just think they believe that football, you can, in 3-4 years, they'll have a team that can win because all the players will develop.
Someone's coming for LB. Put that super chat up, Tell. Someone's coming for LB.
Yeah. It says, not talking about signings players like Neto from Wolves, says the guy who is bigging up his own club signing from Wolves.
Right, wait a second. Okay, so
hang on.
Yeah, we're talking about
late one. Caught him late,
bro. It's crazy. The guy thinks he's got me on the ropes. He might do. 1 second. I've got 10 seconds.
LB stalling here.
No. The difference is here. Yeah, is I'm throwing a VAR check. Now I'm throwing a left back into a defense with Josko Gvardiol, Ruben Diaz, and Ederson in behind him, and Rodri in front of him. Right? You're throwing Neto into a team to try and push you to win a league. That's just not going to happen. And now you're talking about signing Gittins. So it ain't the same. But we'll see at the end of the year. When Chelsea ain't going to win the league this year. No one on this. I know. I've not spoken to him. I know none of these two think that Chelsea are going to win the league. And I know no one with a brain in the chat thinks Chelsea are going to win the league this year. So what's the point?
I actually think Aït-Nouri is a really good signing, personally.
He's a good signing. But, you know, Chelsea ain't winning the league because they're not making the signings that need to make they're not pushing themselves across the line to win the league. They're pushing themselves into a team that wants to go and win, get Champions League football again. That's it.
This is Bowley does it because that's how US sport works.
I have
I
no
don't
idea
know.
how US
I
works.
don't know,
but-
yeah. I
Well,
don't know.
obviously there's a draft, which is typically you're getting the best young players coming through from the college teams at basketball, hockey. I think hockey works like that. They're definitely American football. Look, I think there's merit in what they're doing, but getting in hold of all these young players. And it isn't even that it's wrong per se. It's again, I think these conversations are nuanced, and it's sometimes very hard in football to have a nuanced, grown-up conversation. We look at January. They started really well. If they went and bought Osimhen in January, I think they cruised the top 4, and I think they put that pressure on in that title race for a much longer period of time. Who knows what could have happened? They're 1 point off top. The amount of games over January and February they didn't win because their strikers didn't score goals. Osimhen could have changed the complexity. And then what happens is those goals go in. You get to, and this is the thing about confidence. And I heard, what's the gentleman's name on Arsenal Vision, Potsy?
Clive Palmer.
Clive, yes. I met Clive. Nice guy. Really nice guy. He was talking yesterday about why he wants, and we'll get onto the conversation later, but why he wants Gyokeres over Sesko. And it's because the reports that he has heard, and I do think with Arsenal Vision, they must know some people at the club. There's no way you get Arteta on your podcast without having connections at a football club. Just going to put that out there. It's the truth, right? You're not going to... I remember talking to Goldbridge about the hoops I had to jump through to get Rasmus on. Getting the manager on, you've got to know people. And he said what he was told is Sesko's umming and ahhing because he's scared of not being able to displace Sesko, where Gyokeres went, give me that 9 shot.
You mean Havertz?
Havertz, sorry. Yeah, Sesko can't dispossess him. Where Gyokeres went, don't care about that, give me the 9 shirt, let's do this. And he spoke about how mentality is such an important factor at the elite end of the game. I agree. I often feel that when City started losing a lot of those games, there were some injuries, there were some technical problems, but I think they lost their mentality. Yes, they bought new players and Mamouche made an impact, but the other 3 signings barely kicked a ball. It was about the players finding themselves again and maybe a twerk to the system. And once City found their confidence, much better towards the end of the season. Not perfect, still got to improve, but a much better side. And I think for me, what can happen, going back to Chelsea with that example, is Osimhen comes in January. They keep winning those games because he's scoring goals. Suddenly you get to the beginning of March and you're a couple of points off top. The confidence level, the mentality, the growth in the players' belief goes to another level and you kick on. And I'm not saying Gittins and Delap can't help you do that. I think Delap's going to be a wonderful player for Chelsea. I'm very jealous that you haven't got him. And I think he's going to be another player that City fans sit there and go, for fuck's sake, why didn't we develop him? I think he's going to be another one of those guys. At the same time, I just think you need, like you did last year, because I do think in the end, the age of and experience of the Netos and the Tosins and those players in their mid to late 20s, I think it pays dividends. When you got to those last 5 or 6 games, I think those players, I bet when the stories come out and you hear about who orchestrated the team and who kept galvanized you, the leadership, the grown-ups in the room, those players' names will come up. And I just think, again, if Chelsea don't do it in Challenge next year, it's not going to matter to me. I'm not a Chelsea fan, but I'm talking objectively. So I get how US sports work, but equally those kids, sometimes you see like a rookie running back or quarterback come in and take the NFL by storm, but there are still loads of experienced players, typically speaking, in those squads. Do they call them squads, rosters, whatever they call them? Like,
Do you not think though, Tel, as well? Like well, 3 of us. I mean, LB's a little bit younger than me and you, but we've all been watching football for a long time. The best part of over 30 years, right? I know you don't, right? But when you look at it now, right, 3 decades of football, and I've always said this, and this is where I've kind of to and fro with Don quite a lot. It's like I look at Chelsea, right, as Petr Cech in goal, John Terry, Frank Lampard, Didier Drogba's, and people say, well, you can't do that now because they're not under Roman. All right, well, I'll take it back then. They've got Jackson and Madueke instead of Zola and Vialli. That was before Roman Abramovich's time.
Yeah,
so
gas
this
these
is where
players up, though, don't they, bro? They gas these players up, man. Yeah, Madueke, mega player. It's like, bro, he's not good enough, man. He ain't good enough for Chelsea. Oh, yeah, but he's got the take-ons or this or that. Bro, come on, man. He ain't good enough, mate. This is what I'm talking about. It's about making signings that push you across the line. Yeah, Arsenal did it a couple of years ago with Rice. Missed out, but that was their right intention. Yeah, Liverpool are doing it now with Wirtz. Yeah, City have done it before with Haaland. They're making these signings now that push us across the line. Yeah. So, bro, to become a team that gets Champions League, yeah, like you have to spend a bit of money, but realistically, like you spend the money in the right way, it's not that difficult, yeah. To take you from a team to finish in the top 4 to win the league, it's a different ball game, man. It's a complete different ball game. And you know, these guys are just signing these players, and for me, I just don't know where they're going, man. I don't know where they go. I don't know what their strategy is. Are they just to try and finish top 4 again? I don't know. I don't get it. I think Chelsea looking. I look at Chelsea right now. I've seen someone in the chat as well a minute ago put in. Apparently now Chelsea are looking at. They've got a gentleman's agreement to sell Petrovic for 25 million. Well, hang on a minute, because when they pulled out the deal to sign this AC Milan goalkeeper, I saw that they were happy with the goalkeepers they've got. Now they're selling the best one. So what? Is Sanchez going to be the goalkeeper again? I don't know, man. I don't know what they're playing at. Yeah, I hope so as well, man.
Yeah, I will say this. We'll get on to Man United later. I think their whole Sanchez is number 1, Petrovic is number 2. That's for the cameras. It's so obvious they want a better goalie. I think they'll go back in that area. And again, go and sign someone like a Mike Mignon. That for me is a statement signing. That for me is a show of intent. That is a real top quality.
Man United have got their goalkeeper. So what are you talking about? You've got Tom Heaton.
Tom Heaton. No, we have. We're gonna got. Listen, I'd start him. I'd start Tom Heaton over.
I'd actually start him over Onana as well. I actually would. I genuinely would.
I'd bring. Onana is shocking. I watched Van der Sar. I was watching Van der Sar at Soccer Raid. I'd put him in goal. The man's basically, what's he got? Got to be about 55 now. He's had a brain hemorrhage. I'd still put him in goal over Onana.
Big up Van der Sar. I love you, shocking, by the way. You should get Emi Martinez, man. You should go all out for Emi.
But this is also the thing as well. This is where I'll defend Chelsea, because I'll defend Man United in this regard as well. I think we all sometimes react too much to when a manager bigs a player up. Oh, I wish you would slag him off like I do. He ain't real. Well, that's because you're a moron. That's because you don't have to motivate and manage that person every day. Yes, we're not in the 80s anymore. We can go to work and call your staff names, and it motivates them. They work harder. The world ain't like that. Whether you like it or not, you have to adapt. And it's one of the things that I remember reading about Sir Alex that impressed me so much is someone who started managing in the late 60s, early 70s. And we know what men were like then. And he was still managing in 2013, and the change in behaviors and attitudes. And it went from you could grab a player by the scruff of his neck and scream in his face and threaten to hit him. I mean, he literally didn't mean to, but kicked a boot in a player's face and still maintain the respect of a dressing room. It's gone to that where, if you say something negative publicly about a player, it's not just that player down in tools. It can create an environment where everybody kind of turns their back on you in case they get that treatment. So I get fans that are older are like, no, we've got to go back to the old ways. But we're not going back to the old ways. People can, you can ask for it as much as you want. We're not going back to the 70s, the 80s, or the 90s. And I think it's right for a club to do what Chelsea did and what Man United are doing today, where they're saying, of course, Onana's going to be given a chance to still be the number 1 next year. But in each of those reports, Man United fans are losing their shit. They see the disgrace. Barada don't understand. I woke up. I mean, Staffy. Bruv, I know you're watching. What are you having a meltdown for, bruv? What is it? What's going on here? Time to pop one in, I think, because for me, of course they're going to say that. But the article also states if Man United find a market opportunity, he may be pushed into a backup position. Read between the lines. That is, we're not going to say he's surplus to requirements because we do want to get a fee for him. We do want to make it at least publicly seem like he's valuable. And we're looking for a new goalkeeper. And if we can find one that wants to join, we'll bring him in.
Ain't it all gone a bit quiet though, Tel, at United? Like 2 weeks ago, it was like we're getting Cunha, Buemo, and Gyokeres. I was hearing all these excited Man United fans. And now it's gone a bit dead, and Buemo doesn't know if he wants you or Tottenham. You've got this Gyokeres situation.
He does know. Like Cunha's in. The Mbermo deal we're negotiating with. No credible journalist has said that his mind is changing. What they have said is he's prioritizing United. Should Man United and Brentford not come to an agreement, he could go to Spurs, which is fair. If Man United walk away, he's going to still want to leave Brentford. So I'm confident around that deal. The striker situation, that slowed down simply because of you mugs. Your mob are holding up the striker market from our perspective because you've got 2 players that want to join you and we want one of them. So we've got to wait for you to make your mind up. And after that, it's about selling players. And this is where Man United fans don't help the club. Oh, I can't believe the club's not slagging off Onana like I do. Why would they do that? They're trying to sell him. Imagine you do this. You're selling your car, Potsy. Got your car up for sale. And your description says, absolute shit fuck banger. Always breaks down. Uncomfortable. Suspension shot. The windscreen fluid doesn't squirt out properly. It needs new tires. And I've been sick in it a few times, so it's a little whiffy.
That sounds like my motor, bruv. What are you talking about?
If that's the description of your motor, who's coming to buy it?
Well, if you think about it, that's what Ten Hag did to Sancho when he called out Sancho in that press in the post-match press conference when he said Sancho was is not been picked for the side because he doesn't train right. United, that I guarantee you now, the finance people at United who deal with the transfers would have been absolutely fuming with Ten Hag because then it basically just meant that you couldn't get a fee from him. You loaned him everywhere.
Listen, I totally agree. And look, we may end up not getting rid of all these players, as in selling them all, but let's wait until we buy. But again, this is Man United fans having meltdowns over things that are obvious. We are not getting, let's just say we pick 4 or 5 of the squad that we all think should stay. That leaves 20 players. We were never getting rid of 20 players this summer. So stop crying about ones you want to leave not going straight away. It's going to take 2 to 3 summers. Don't make the club's job harder by crying like babies. It's ridiculous for me. Keep your powder dry a little bit. If we don't get rid of him and he's a starting goalie next year, complain. Complain about the recruitment team. Complain about the club not attracting anybody at that point. But don't sit there and go, I don't understand why the club ain't slagging him off. Why would they? It's their asset to sell. Of course they're going to big him up. Of course they're going to praise him. Of course they're going to say, we think Rasmus could turn this round because we're in talks with Inter Milan trying to sell him. Imagine you're sitting with Inter Milan today saying, look, we know he ain't had a good year, but look at what he did at Atalanta here in Italy. Look at his first season, this touch, this movement. Look at this, look at this, look at the other. He had a bad year last year, but we messed up by changing managers. The system ain't right for him, but yours is beautiful. Imagine we say that in the meeting to him, plus more, right? And then the next day, sporting director, is on the internet. I don't know why I'm doing that with the paper. Everyone's on the internet these days. But he's on the internet having a look at some articles. And there it is, CEO of Manchester United saying, Rasmus is a shithouse. We don't want him. How's that going to help the negotiations? That's where I want Man United. It's not about being the top red. Okay, stop being little bitches. Understand the club isn't going to brief the media and say, yeah, they're crap. So Jim did it in his interview. And the same people criticized him and said, how dare he say that about players? Now there's reports that we are backing some of these players to improve next season. I can't believe they're backing the players. Well, what do you want? Throwing them under the bus or backing them? They're being asked direct questions by the media. They refuse to answer. This is what these same amoebas will also say. I'm not talking about you now, Staffy. I'm going on from you. It'll be, but why don't they communicate their plans to us? I don't like the silence. Well, because with whatever answer they give, you're going to moan about it. So I think what they should do is be completely fucking silent and brief no fucker, because people are just whingy and they can't see the wood for the trees, man. They can't see the wood for the trees. They really can't. So I'm not that worried about Man United's situation, to be fair. I think we've had a decent start. It's selling players that's the hardest bit. But I think we're in a situation now where we need a few more deals to go through and start speeding the market up. And I think one of them is you guys deciding on what to, and what do you think you guys are going to do? Because some reports, Plattenberg, Sesko's more advanced. I think Jacobs has said Sesko's more advanced. Fabrizio's more on the side of the Portuguese press where it's all about this Gyokeres deal and he's waiting for Arsenal. I don't know what Ornstein said. I swear he mentioned Sesko weeks ago. Nothing since. Like, as an Arsenal fan, you're obviously closer to that news than I am. What's going on with it, and who do you think you're going to go after?
I think we're going to end up with Sesko. I want Gyokeres. Now, 1 minute you hear that Sesko's advanced, the next minute you hear that Gyokeres wants Arsenal, then you hear that actually we're not interested in going that big for Gyokeres because we believe it's too expensive for him. Even though Sesko is more expensive, they see the potential, so they're happy to pay for the potential. It's a mess. That's what it is, Tel. It's a mess. And I don't know if we've got our planning correct. I'm a big fan of what Berta's going to bring, but but I don't like the fact that we still haven't brought a striker. And I know that sounds really petulant and perhaps spoilt, but it is clear that Arsenal need a centre forward. And if we keep dilly-dallying, we might end up with neither of them. So I think we do want Sesko, and I think Gyokeres would be interested in Arsenal. I just don't know that we're actually set on Gyokeres. And it sounds like we're playing it that we want Sesko, but if it doesn't happen because Leipzig are asking for too much, then Gyokeres might be the guy that we go for. Sporting Lisbon, from what we understand, have said, no, we ain't got no gentleman's agreement. That was Hugo Viana who had that agreement. He's gone to Man City. We don't care about him now. We care about getting as much as we can for Victor Gyokeres. And he's going to be 70, 80 million euros. And he's going to want 250 a week. Go and get him then. We paid 65 M's and 290 for Havertz. Why are we trying to scrimp and save for a better striker who's Premier League who's proven to be a bagsman in Europe? Then you've got Sesko who wants less money a week, but is going to be more money than Gyokeres is because he's going to be near 80 million euros. For me, we got to go and get someone who's going to be bagging in goals. And what I don't understand, I know what your thoughts are on this, LB, right? A lot of Arsenal fans, yeah, but Sesko's the better fit. Shut up, man. What does that even mean? The guy's got 13 goals in the Bundesliga. Victor Gyokeres has scored over 50 in the last 2 years for his club. But because the opposition in the Portuguese league is seen as like that comparisons of League One teams and Championship teams, it don't count. Name me another Portuguese striker in that league that's scoring over 50 goals. You can't. Sesko scored less goals than Marmoush. He scored less goals than Patrick Schick. He scored less goals than players that I've not even heard of in that Bundesliga, by the way. But because he might be good in a few years, we're all getting excited about him.
So, do you need a striker or do you need a goal scorer?
That's been brought up the other day, by the way. I
Oh, was it? Oh, someone beat me to it, man.
Someone beat you to it, man.
So actually, that guy is actually wrong. Arsenal are not looking for a goal scorer. You're looking for a striker.
I don't know what we're looking for, mate. We're looking for everything, it seems. Look, I don't know what your thoughts are, man, but we need Gyokeres or the only ones that would excite me, right? Are Gyokeres, Osimhen, Julian Alvarez. They're the three, and Isak, obviously. They're the only four that I'm looking at going, yeah, fair play. I don't particularly want Ekatike. I don't particularly want Sesko. I don't particularly want any of the other Premier League strikers like João Pedro and Watkins and Mateta and all these guys. I want one of those four names that I've just said. They're the only four that make Liverpool and Manchester City go, seriously? Wow. I didn't want Arsenal to sign them.
Here's what I feel, Daniel, is I go back to January, right, mate? Arsenal was still in a title race. Just. Not really, but just, yeah. And I think you were still in the Champions League and domestic cups. I'm not sure what you was in.
We're in the Carling Cup, yeah.
You're still in the Carabao Cup at that point, right? So you're in 3 trophies, going steady, but a couple of injuries. You know, the ship's rocking and that, yeah? Signed nobody. Right. Okay. You went on to win nothing. I just look at it and think, why on earth did you spend no money in January? It's not like you spent 200 million the summer previously. You spent 70 million quid on Calafiori and Marino. So that the money would have been available. So I remember Arsenal fans telling me that the reason why you didn't sign anybody in January is because you've got all the money lined up and you're going to go and get the players in the summer. So that means the targets were already identified, but you couldn't get them in January for whatever reason that was, right? So why are we here now? And you've still not signed anyone? I know Zubimendi's pretty much done whatever. But why have you not got this? Why have you not got this striker locked off already? Why are you still? Why am I still? Don't even know you're
negotiating, bruv. They're still negotiating between the two, Sesko and Gyokeres. 1 minute we're putting in bids. Well, apparently we're putting a bid of 49 million for Gyokeres. That's an absolute insult and disgrace, by the way. As soon as we paid 65 million pound for Havertz, if that's true, of course. Then there's rumours we're going back in with 70 million for Gyokeres. The rumours are that we actually do want Sesko. Arteta's identified Sesko. He's proven to Alberta as the way that he wants to play. Sesko will turn into Haaland. By the way, no pressure if we get Sesko, by the way, because this is what people are telling me, that he's the next Haaland. So I expect 30 goals this season if he comes in, bare minimum, right?
But hang on a minute, right? So if you want the next Haaland's a goal scorer, right? Haaland's job is to put the ball in the back of the net. This is why when people talked about his link-up play, I really couldn't care less. His job is to put the ball in the back of the net. So if you wanted someone to do that, why not go and get Gyokeres? Because Gyokeres is clearly demonstrated that he can put the ball in the back of the net.
Because he doesn't fit the profile of what Arteta wants, is what I'm being told.
So then, hang on a minute. But so who's running the show here? Is it Berta or is it Arteta?
Well, this is what we don't know. At the moment, it looks like Mikel Arteta has got the most powerful voice at the club, because the players that we wanted back 12 to 18 months ago are the ones we still want now, right? Supermendy, Sesko, Nico Williams, albeit that's called off of interest now. Looks like we've brought in Kepa, who's a goalkeeper that has been recognised as a good backup. Anything that Andrea Berta does, I'm judging that aren't those names. Because if we bring in Supermendy, I'm not hailing Berta, because we've bloody done that 12 months ago. That was the guy we wanted ages ago. If we get in Sesko, that's the guy we should have got last summer, but had a gentleman's agreement to come back in the previous summer, or the following summer, should I say. So, look, if Berta goes and gets us Rodrigo, and we go and get Morgan Rogers or an Eze or maybe Baena or somebody like that, I'm going to look and say, blimey, he's working. But I ain't twerking for Berta if we're bringing in Sesko and Supermendy, because that's been identified by Mikel Arteta. So has Berta been brought in to get the players Arteta wants, or has he been brought in to do his job, which is to identify and allow Arteta to do the stuff on the pitch? That's what I still don't know at the moment, because it's too early in the window. But we will find out. I think we're going to get Sesko. I don't particularly think that's enough to win us the league, but
well, I've got to say, I'll have the same energy for you. In fact, before I say that, what winger are you getting? Because obviously you need a left winger desperately. So what winger are you going to get?
Not Rodrigo.
Do we know who you've been linked with?
Because he's going to be going to Real Madrid. He's going to stay at Real Madrid, they believe. What winger are we getting? Not Nico Williams, not Rodrigo. At the moment, don't know. There's no one linked with us at the moment.
All right, then. So I'll say the same thing that I said about Chelsea then, right? Because I'll try and be fair, yeah? If you end up with Sesko, Supermendy, I don't see that being anywhere near enough. Near enough. And again, said about Chelsea, you know, their signings need to push you to be able to win. I don't think that's enough. I don't think that's it. I don't think that's nearly enough.
The only way that we can catch up with what City and Liverpool have done now is to go and buy Isak and Rodrigo, or Gyokeres and Rodrigo. That's the only way we can catch up with what Liverpool have done with Florian Wirtz and Gyokeres and all these guys they're bringing in, and what City have done with Aït-Nouri, Ryan Cherki and Reinders. Those, for me, are clear of everyone so far. They've left Newcastle, Chelsea, Arsenal, and all the others behind, in my opinion, Liverpool and City. And at the moment, it's going to be a two-horse race. That's truly what I believe at the moment. And for those that think that's over the top, I don't think that can be. When Arsenal are going to have Havertz up top starting, it would not surprise me, if Havertz is lining up as the number 9 in the first game of the season at Arsenal, and we've got Sesko being moulded into the team. That ain't good enough, man. That ain't good enough. Not to go and win the league. It ain't. Sesko could be a good player in a few years' time. I don't think he's a shambles of a footballer. I don't particularly believe I can put my house on him scoring 20 goals for an Arsenal shirt. That's what we need. That's what we need. We've got Havertz who gets us 10 to 15. We need the 25 to 30. That's what we need, right? And there's only a handful of goal scorers that can do that. Isak's one of them. I believe Julian Alvarez would be a brilliant signing. I think Victor Osimhen would be the other one, and Victor Gyokeres would be the other.
Well, why don't you go and get Osimhen? Why don't you go? He's on the market. Yeah, he's available. I don't
not even link with him, bro. Not even link with him.
Transfer fee's not even meant to be that big from what I've seen. Why don't you go and get? I actually think, and I've said this before, I think he'd be the perfect striker for Arsenal, because he can just sit in the box. Yeah, because obviously Arsenal dominate the ball on the edge of the penalty area, and he's a box striker. And I think he'd be the best one out of everyone. But you don't even
link with him, bro. Not even link with him. Because he wants a tall, imposing centre forward, from what we hear, like Havertz. So that's why Gyokeres and Sesko are being talked about.
Yeah, but Osimhen's quite tall. I think he's over 6 foot, isn't he, chat? I swear he's like 6'2" or something.
I don't know what he is.
I swear Osimhen's tall. Someone in the chat must know how big it is. He's a tall player.
I would take Osimhen over Sesko. And, you know, look, I'm not saying that a lot of people are trying to compare Sesko to some of the others' names, like Isak. Isak's numbers weren't that impressive at Real Sociedad. One, they were pretty good. And two, you could see straight away, you didn't need any numbers. You saw with the eyes how good he was, right? And that's why they paid 60 million for him, Newcastle, and not 25. So Sesko, for me, I think he's going to be a very good player in the next couple of years. Don't know what he's going to do with his career, but he looks like he could be a very good footballer. But I don't think it's enough to be ready now to go, right, Arsenal are ready. If we sign Sesko, Supermendy, let's say Eze, Man City and Liverpool are going to go, oh my God, Arsenal already. I'm scared of them. No, they're not. They're not going to. But if I said to you, LB, have you heard who Arsenal's signing? Now go on, Potsy, who they're signing. We're getting Gyokeres, we're getting Rodrigo, we're getting Eze, and then we've got Zubamendi coming in. You'd be like, bloody hell, that's a pretty good front line now. Gyokeres, Rodrigo, and Saka. With Ødegaard behind, feeding in, with Zubamendi coming in with his passing and with his Rice balling out in the midfield. Then all of a sudden, Arsenal are serious. But if you're bringing in Sesko, I don't think anyone would be saying that. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe
Sesko. I feel like Sesko's another player that's going to need a couple of years to bed in and that. Arsenal ain't got a couple of years, man. You know what I mean? What is it you keep telling me? 20 years since you last won a Prem.
Over
30
that,
years since you last won a European trophy. 5 years without a trophy. Like it's worse for. We just spent half an hour speaking about Chelsea and how like their signings don't really inspire confidence to go and push forward. But at least Chelsea are sort of like Chelsea are you, but a couple of years ago. You've been second now 3 years in a row. Yeah, you know what I mean, so if you don't hit the market properly this year, that'd be worse than Chelsea for me. Because otherwise, how long does this gig carry on at Arsenal before people just say, I don't think they're actually a serious club anymore?
Well, it's one more season, isn't it? It's one more season now. I would have pulled the plug already, but it's one more season now. Do you know what I mean? Like, let's be real. And then people will say, well, are you playing FIFA? What? Getting Gyokeres, the Sporting Lisbon striker, and Rodrigo. That is not playing FIFA, guys. Spending £300 million is what we've got to spend from what we understand from the Cronkies. That's not playing FIFA.
No,
come on, man. Be real.
And we know Arsenal have got the funds available. They spent 70 million quid last year. 70 million. Yeah, Sterling's wages are going to go off the books. Yeah, they'll sell a couple of players. Yeah, they have the money available. They like to go on about tell us all how big they are as a football club and that. Yeah, Arsenal can easily do 250, 300 million this summer. Easy. Yeah, I mean, Liverpool are doing, probably do best part of over 200 mil. If they get a striker, maybe more if they get a top level striker. It's just excuses, Potsy. People just make excuses, man.
Yeah.
For the football club. I don't know why, but that's what.
Well, doing it now in the chat. Who's going to come and manage us then? Who's going to come and manage us then? No one. We have to fold the club. When Arteta decides enough's enough, Arsenal Football Club will no longer.
Well, I'm not speaking about I'm not speaking about the manager. I'm speaking about the way they run and the signings and the lack of ambition. The lack of ambition, man. Very weird. It just seems like. Yeah, I don't know, man. I just feel with Arsenal, I never get that you're like full. And you know what's pretty mad as well is a couple of years ago, I thought you'd change. When you signed Rice, I thought, hang on a minute, these guys are serious now. And then you follow that up with Marino, Calafiori, and Sterling on loan. Do you know what I mean? Now you don't know.
We got Champions League football, bruv. We got Champions League football, and now they're happy. They've got their money again, LB. This is what people don't understand. Look at the signings we signed when we were out of the Europa. When we're in the Europa League, do you remember, right? These are the players we signed when we were in the Europa League. You ready? We signed Gabriel, Kieran Tierney, Thomas Partey, Aubameyang, Lacazette, Martin Ødegaard, Ben White, all for top money, by the way, like top serious money. Weren't like we paid like £25 million for them. Yeah. Pepe, 72 million, record signing at the time. Since we got into the Champions League, we've signed Calafiori, Marino, Sterling, Neto, Raya, Havertz, and then Timber and Rice, who I thought were good signings personally. So Timber and Rice are the two that you look at and go, wow, all the others you're questioning, thinking, what the hell was that signing? Why did we get him in? Why did you bring that left back in for? Why did you bring in Marino for 35 million? Why did you bring in Calafiori for 40? What the hell was that Neto signing? Why did you bring in Sterling? This is the problem we got, man. We get back into the Champions League and they're happy. When we're out of it, we better spend to get back in that Champions League. Right, we're in it now. Relax. I was Sterling on loan, Neto on loan. That's what it is, man. People got to wake up. Like, real talk, the Cronkies are a massive issue at this football club, bruv. If I said to you, you're a football owner and you've taken over Arsenal in 2008 to 2025, and I said to you, in 2008, when you take over, when you get to 2025, if you've won 4 FA Cups, that's seen as a good season. Would you laugh and go, you're joking me? This is Arsenal. This is
that when they took over? Yeah, 2008.
2008, they took over as in part of the club. They weren't total ownership, of course, until the 2019-2020, right? But when you look at the scenario now of them coming into the club to now, we've won 4 FA Cups in that period. Do you think that's enough for a club the size of Arsenal?
You know what's crazy as well, bro? Right, look at some of the. I've just pulled up your squad from 2008. Yeah, some of the players, man. You still have Dallas. Sesko was still there. Song, very, very good player. Nasri was still there. Adebayor, Van Persie, Diaby. I know he had his injury problems, but he was a top player, underrated. Walcott was still there at the time. Wilshere, Eduardo, Rosicky, he was a baller as well. Like, bro, these were ballers, man. You know what I mean? And like, yeah, you're probably right, bro. I don't know, man. Like, again, I don't know, man. I just look at, unfortunately for you, pal, yeah, but like, good for me, innit? Because I enjoy watching it. And like, I think it's going to be another year of not winning anything for you, pal. Because I look at your signings, man, that you're linked with, and it doesn't look like it's going to push over the line. I think the only way the Seskos and that would have been good enough this year is if City and Liverpool stayed still. And obviously, City and Liverpool are doing the complete opposite of staying still. They're making moves to try and win the league. So yeah, I don't know, man. I think it's gonna be another year of not winning anything for you, bro. And I don't know where you go from there. Because if the summer transfer window's bad, who do you blame? Do you blame Arteta, or do you blame Berta? Do you blame the owners? Is it going to start getting toxic again?
Of course it will.
With the fan base, because some of your fan base just happy with it. They're happy with it, mate.
Well, most of them in the chat are. Most of them in the chat. Go and support Real Madrid if you want this entitlement. What entitlement is this? Four FA Cups since 2008. How entitled?
Man. So what are you actually? They're saying you're entitled. So what are you actually asking for?
Just a trophy, man. Just a
trophy. I'm talking in terms of players, because I assume that's what the guy meant in the chat. Who do you actually want?
Who do I want? So who I want this summer with my dream summer, right? I don't really care about this Kepa thing. Bring him in if you want. I don't really care about the backup goal.
I actually think that's a good signing, but
I don't really care about that, right? 5 million, who cares, right? So Kepa's cool. I'd like us to go and get a proper centre half in that's going to compete and have some backup, because we're going to get injuries this season, as we know. So somebody like Mark Gyokeres, I think, would be a phenomenal centre half to come and bring in, right? And I think that'd be a brilliant signing. I know that he might not want to come because he wants to play first team football, but that's who I'd bring in if I could. Then obviously in midfield, Zubimendi, I think, is a good signing. I would like us to go and get in Morgan Rogers from Villa. I think he's a really good player. People are saying that's unrealistic, but that's the sort of player I'd like. If not, then Eze, because I think Eze might be a little bit more realistic with the money. And then Rodrigo and Gyokeres. That's it. I don't want 15 players. I want 5 or 6. That's what I think Arsenal need. Because in that time, you've got to remember we're getting rid of Sterling. So we need to have a look at the attack-minded, which Eze can come in for Sterling. You've got Gyokeres, who's going to come in to replace and upgrade on Havertz. You've got Rodrigo, who's going to upgrade on Martinelli, who you don't think is good enough for Arsenal. You've got Zubimendi, who's coming in because Partey and Jorginho are both gone. Mark Gare, he's coming in, or somebody like that, for backup for the defence and backup goalkeeper. That's not playing FIFA or Football Manager time. This is like normal summer. 4 or 5 players of top quality that are coming into Arsenal to strengthen us. And that might not even still be enough, LB, but at least I can say...
That's 325 million quid-ish, isn't it?
About 300... Wow. We got about 350 million from what we know. That's player sales on top of that.
That's more than doable. That is more than doable.
So how is that being over the top and entitled? I don't get it. I don't understand this.
I don't know.
I'll tell you what Arsenal need. We need Isak. We want Gyokeres. We want Rodrigo. We want what did I say? Eze, we want Rogers, we want Zubimendi, and I'm going, hang on a minute, mate. Whoa. This ain't FIFA, mate. We ain't got 500, 600 million. I'd understand people.
But people were saying that to me back in January, bro. We might have spent 175, we've just done another 100. Yeah, Liverpool have just done 30 on Frimpong. They're doing 120 on
Yeah, they've done 250. Yeah,
they're going to do Gyokeres. They're going to get a striker and maybe one more. They're going to do.
If you're spending 300 million, if you and Liverpool are spending 300 million. We've got to spend 300 million. It's simple, isn't it? And we probably have to spend more, because I think your squad's stronger than ours, City and Liverpool's. If you put it on paper, I think your squad's probably, maybe with your aging players, it might be similar to ours. I think Liverpool have probably got the strongest squad right now, and I think they'll go back to back if things stand, unless you guys, pull off a madness with Rodri coming back. But Arsenal are being left behind, the other two, in my opinion, at the moment.
I agree. I think you are being left behind. Now, again, the window's still open, but you look at you don't even know what left winger you're being linked with, which is crazy. Do you think there's a chance you might not get a left winger? Because if you don't get a left winger, I'd fold season. Real talk, bro. You ain't winning shit if you go into the season with Trossard and Martinelli as your left wingers. That's it. It's lights out for you.
I think we'll get one. I just don't think it's going to be a Rodrigo type. I think it'll be like a Semenyo or like Lookman, someone like that.
Oh, Alejandro.
That's what I think. Or maybe Eze, you're saying. Yes, KJ, what are you saying?
Yes. I've done a magic trick, people. I am Terry. I disappear and come back as
His
a
Wi-Fi's
different
gone,
person.
really.
But yeah, Terry's had a little situation at home with his power, so I'll be here until he comes back. But yes, you guys are getting Garnacho or Rashford.
Come on, man.
I'm on my knees.
Imagine if he got
KJ wants that, man.
Oh my god, Potsy would lose it.
Yeah, I would. I'd actually go and support Leighton Orient for the season. Real talk. If we got Garnacho or Rashford, my God.
Go support Real Madrid. That's what the chat's telling you,
dude. Some people want Rashford, you know. Some of my fan base want Rashford. They're like, yeah, this would be a sick signing. It'd be incredible.
It's not a sick signing. I reckon, yeah, people are saying that are people who are worried that they're going to get Rashford, so are just pretending like it'd be a good signing. You know, just to try and convince themselves. Yeah, it's going to be a good signing, is it?
What do you think? So, what do you think is a good summer for us, LB? Real talk, Arsenal. Like,
right. So I think your defense is actually pretty decent. I don't actually think you need to get another defender. I hear your centre back shout, but I think if Kivior doesn't leave, I think that he actually done quite a good job when I seen him last year. So
yeah, I like. Kivior
I actually think your defense is pretty stacked. Yeah, I don't. You have the best defense in the league, right? So I think that's fine. Your goalkeepers are fine. David Raya is a great goalkeeper. Yeah, I think he's getting close to world class status if he's not even there already. And I actually think Kepa's a pretty good signing for a backup goalkeeper, right? So that's your goalkeepers and defense sorted out. Yeah. Maybe in an ideal world you'd want a better centre back than Kivior, but it's not ideal, and that centre back is fine. Right, midfield. What's going on with Partey? Is he staying or going? Because I need to know.
I reckon today rumours are suggesting that he might be off because we can't agree a deal with him. But I'm hoping that's a load of rubbish because I'm also hearing other reverse stuff saying that he does want to stay. It's just about getting the price right for him.
Right. Okay. So let's say he stays. So you've got 6 position. You can play Partey, Rice, and Zubimendi there. So you've got 3 players that are capable of playing in that position. Then you've got your 8. Rice can obviously play there. Zubimendi could probably play in a sort of like double pivot situation. I think you're massively weak in your 10 area. Massively weak because Odegaard, for me,
he's more of an 8 anyway. He's more of an 8.
I agree. Actually, I think he's an 8 as well. I'll be real, but at the 10, I'm not sure he's that guy. You know, he's never really consistently got GA output, which you do need as a 10. You need to be chipping in with goals and serious numbers and assists. Now, maybe Noam Where he could do it one year, but I don't know if Arteta is ever going to give him the reign to do that yet. But you need someone else on top of that. So you need a 10. Who could that be? Well, Eze can play 10. He can also play left wing. So you could protect. I think Eze would actually be a pretty smart move for us.
Yeah, I do.
I don't think he's like an elite player. Yeah, but I think he's a good player, and I think he's available for like 60 million. I think that'd be a good signing for Arsenal. You need a striker. I'd be a bit disappointed if as an Arsenal fan, if you got Sesko, I'd be looking at, like I said, I think Osimhen's the one, if not Gyokeres. And you need cover, definitely need cover for Saka. So, yeah, if you got Eze, Gyokeres, and you probably do need another midfielder, to be fair. I think you're a little light. Another attacking midfielder. I don't know any names off the top of my head.
If you got Zubimendi, Eze, Gyokeres, and then a winger like Rodrigo, that's a really good
yeah. Oh, that'd be class. Yeah, that'd be unreal. But let's say you don't get Rodrigo.
My summer. That's what I want for my summer. I don't think that's
that'd be mega. No, that'd be a mega. But say you don't get Rodrigo, say he's not available. You got Eze. You could play Eze off the left. He's played there for Palace, but you'd need another midfielder.
You need Rodgers as well. You need Rodgers and Eze. That's what you'd need. Or someone put Xavi Simmons.
Yeah.
Xavi Simmons is a shout.
We'll get Simmons. Potentially go and get. He's available. Now, is he good enough? I don't know, but he's available.
Yeah, the question is, would the Arsenal board be willing to sanction such a summer in terms of funds? Because Simmons, Eze, Rodgers, they are costing 6 million plus.
How much is Zubimendi? 50.
Zubi is 50.
50. Eze 60. Yeah.
Yeah.
So between 60 and 70, I think
it's 65 million.
I'll put 60 down, right? Striker Gyokeres, what's he worth?
He's
about 70, something like that.
yeah, 70 million, 65 million, 70 million.
70, right, up to 180. And then who else you want?
Rodrigo's probably 100 million euros, which is about 85 mil.
It's 265.
Is that it?
That's it.
That's what I mean.
It's doable. It's actually doable. But again, would Arsenal's board do that?
It's like some sort of mad. So I mean, Liverpool are spending 120 just on one player alone, and then they're getting another 2 on top of it, maybe 3. Like, come on, man. People got to wake up and stop protecting these billionaire owners, man. We've got to take a stand, you know what I mean, as football fans against these billionaires. Yeah, I was calling out my board before the January window and said this is going to take 500 million quid to sort this shit out. Yeah, they did 175 in January. They've done another 120 now. They're going to do probably another 80 after the Club World Cup. Yeah, stop protecting these billionaires, man. Yeah, they don't know you. Yeah, they don't know you. They don't know you like that. Yeah, they've got the cash available. Yeah, they've got the cash available. Arsenal spent 70 million. That's it last year. That's it. For a club like Arsenal, that's nothing. They can do it. Anybody says they can't spend 265 is crazy, mate.
No, I don't think anyone's saying
270 that would be because obviously Kepa's 5, so 270, yeah, and you still got 30, or actually you still got 80 if it's 350, which is reported. So that 80 can go on another midfielder or defender or cover or whatever you need. So I don't know why people
players as well to like recap some of the money as well.
But you know,
exactly.
what it is?
What I mean,
it's not necessarily they can't do it. Again, it's the argument is will they? And I don't, LLB, you made a good point in terms of people protecting their ownership. I don't think Arsenal fans protect their ownership, but I think they operate from a place of, well, I know they're not going to do it, so I'm not going to get my hopes up kind of thing, you know? Like, I personally don't even see Arsenal spending 350 in a window, signing 4 quality players for all 60 to 80 million each.
But KJ, could they spend 270?
They could, but even
right,
that,
if they signed Zubimendi, Gyokeres, who else was it? Potsy, Rodrigo,
and Eze.
Yeah, and Eze, right? We'd all be sitting there now going, "Oh my God, Arsenal's serious. They're gonna be right at it for the title, for the Champions League, for all trophies." Yeah, we'll be saying that, but they're not. They're gonna go and get Zubimendi. They'll get Sesko, and they'll probably sign some random left winger who no one's heard of. And then what? Like this is doable. How much have United spent this summer?
We are looking to spend 125 around that for
125 for a club, yeah, that is not in any European competition. Yeah, it's not been in the Champions League for a year or 2 years.
2 years.
Yeah, as a pretty mad wage bill and as redevelopment costs to do with the stadium, the area. And they've clearly got financial problems. They're making a lot of people redundant. And United are still spending 125, 130, and we're being told that Arsenal have been in the Champions League now like 2, 3, 4 years. Can't spend 265 when all they spent in the summer was 70. It's crazy, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, mad.
Welcome back, people. Sorry about that. Literally, my computer crashed and then it was just repairing, wouldn't turn on. I went and got my laptop, which I don't use to stream. Just by the time I got that connected to the internet and ready, the fucking computer came back on. So sorry about that, peeps. I've heard it was the best 20 minutes of the show when I was gone. So
you ruined the trick, Terry. It's gonna disappear and come out and he returned back as a normal person. I started the magic trick. You went away and came back.
Okay. A few comments here I want to go to. First one says Gyokeres, Rodrigo, Hato, Eze, I don't know who that player is from Sevilla as a Partey replacement. I don't know if you guys have touched on Partey leaving, but obviously that news has come out today that he could be on his way out.
If he leaves, sorry, they need another midfielder.
No, I agree. I don't know what you guys have said. So I don't really want to go over old ground because I know you boys have been talking for a bit while I was gone. I understand Arsenal got to do proper business this summer. What I will say is I'm actually quite a fan of the way Berta is approaching things, the way he negotiates deals, because he's got 2 going on at the same time. The only area I don't think Arsenal should be concerned about strikers. I actually think both Sesko and Gyokeres are really good and will really help to improve Arsenal. My biggest concern if I was a Gooner would be the left wing because Nico Williams ain't happening now. Rodrigo's really hard. Sane, you were linked to, has gone to Galatasaray. And that area of the market, it's shrinking really quickly. And I don't know how much... it's a gamble now to wait for Rodrigo. He may become available. He may not have a great time at the Club World Cup. He may decide to leave, and Arsenal could pounce, and it would be a phenomenal signing. At the same time, a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. So I do agree with what was being said before my computer crashed. I think you guys have got to execute soon in the next week or so on a striker. Get that in so you know what you've got. And then I think it's about moving on to that area. Plus, if Partey leaves, it's an additional midfield player that is now going to be needed. So it's an additional bit of work. You're trying to get him to sign a new deal. So clearly, that's an additional bit of work that Arsenal don't want. I'm sure you've got candidates lined up. I'm sure you're not flat-footed with no work having been done. I think the Zubimendi deal is what's creating a lot of murkiness as well. Why hasn't it been kind of announced yet? What I was told by Ben Jacobs, it's all to do with Sociedad want it done early July to do with tax reasons their end. I'm not too sure on the exact details. I do think though, from an Arsenal perspective, what if Zubimendi had been announced a week ago? I think there'd be a little bit more patience. Do you feel like it's because you just kind of waiting and nothing's happened yet?
The Arsenal fans are getting concerned, and I understand why. And I'm not saying that we should like go absolute mad and go into meltdown and head loss moment. But the last few windows have been very disappointing, Terry. Right? I think the last signing that Arsenal made was Raheem Sterling. Yeah. So that's not good enough when you're going for a title. Now we're going to sign players. Don't get me wrong. I don't know if it's going to be Sesko or Gyokeres. I don't know if it's going to be Rodrigo or Eze. I have no idea, right? But the left wing market is something that's not very talented anyway. I actually don't care about Nico Williams not coming because I do think there's better wingers out there. I'd rather have Lookman ahead of Williams. I'd rather Rafa. Who?
Grealish.
No, I don't want Grealish or Rashford or bloody Garnacho or any of those. I don't want anyone more sloppy seconds, man. No more sloppy seconds signings. I've had enough of them, man.
Do you know, I've got a feeling I'm starting to grow every day that you guys might, on that left-hand side, end up going for Garnacho or Rashford. I think you might end up.
That's what KJ just said, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that is genuinely what KJ just said. If we go for them, I'll be devastated, if I'm honest. That's going to do nothing. I'd rather keep Martinelli and Trossard. Real talk. There's absolutely no upgrade whatsoever, personally. Morgan Rogers, Eze, even Barcola, I know a lot of people say he's quite inconsistent and wasteful, but I think his numbers look pretty good. Lookman, these are all players that I would 100% take. And I think with Rogers and Eze, you've got players there that are quite versatile, actually. That Eze, like LB said, could actually be Saka cover and ahead of Martinelli and go and give competition to Ødegaard. Rogers, likewise, I think can do that with Ødegaard. So I think those two signings would be good. The problem is you've got a lot of money you're going to spend on those because it's English tax. So I think Eze is a 60-something million pound release clause. And I think Rogers, I mean, if he's going to budge, it's going to be about 80-odd million, isn't it? It's going to be mad money. Yeah. So you're going to be spending a hell of a lot of money there, you know? So look, Arsenal are going to be linked with a hell of a lot of players. I don't know. I've got faith in Berta from what he's done previously. If he's allowed to do his job and go and highlight people that we need and identify what we need and is allowed to do that, then great. If he's been brought in just to get the players that Arteta wants, that's where I have my big question mark and concerns, which is why if we end up looking at the market with Zubimendi, Sesko and like Semenyo, that is not going to excite me. But if we do go and get the Gyokereses of this world, we go and get Rodrigo, we look to get Eze, Zubimendi, like we've just calculated, £270 million. That ain't a hell of a lot of money to spend when you're, you know, like what Liverpool and City are doing is spending that, you know?
Ian here says, again, another Arsenal fan who cried for a year to buy a proper number 9. Your club goes out and tries to buy a 9, but because he's not the 9 you want, the crying got even worse. You can't.
But that's what we were crying about in the first place, Ian. That's what you've got confused about, my friend. You're getting confused by saying that we're crying because we don't have a 9. No, we weren't. We're crying because we don't have a prolific 9. We've had 9s, mate. We've had Havertz. We've had Jesus. We've had Eddie Nketiah. We've had Lacazette. We want to go and get a 9 that's going to get us 20 to 30 goals, mate. That's what we're crying about. And Sesko, I don't think he's that guy. But if you're just happy...
Sesko's got 13 league goals this year.
There we go.
Last year, he got 14. The year before that, he got 16, but that was in the Austrian Bundesliga. The year before that, he got 5 in the Austrian Bundesliga. So this guy's never really been a prolific goal scorer. And as the guy who had that conversation with Potsy, you need a goal scorer, not a striker. So you scored a guy. Marmoush left the Bundesliga in January. Marmoush ended up with more goals in the Bundesliga than Sesko this season. He left in January, mate. That's the thing, isn't it?
This year from Gunner Down Under, he says, to be honest, we need Sesko and
Absolutely.
Gyokeres, because we are one injury away from being back in the same boat with Havertz. Sesko
100%.
is similar to Havertz, tall, lanky frame, but can finish a lot better. Usually, to win anything, you need two strikers of different game styles, and maybe that's the. I mean, I haven't seen it written anywhere, but there is still a chance that that's the approach. And if you end up with both of them, double bubble. I will say this: I just don't see it because
No, I don't. No.
I don't see it because no one's saying it. So it could happen, but until someone reports on it, it's hard to do. This here says, I think Partey going will adjust our budget, hence the delay in pulling the trigger on attacking signings until Partey's future is decided.
Yeah, but if he goes, you need another midfielder on top of Zubimendi.
It's fine getting Zubimendi because Jorginho's gone, but Partey coming as well means we're going to need another. Either another holding midfielder or Rice and Zubimendi are in the 6 and we get another attack-minded midfielder or a box-to-box midfielder, like who I wanted, which is funny enough, the one that LB's now got, Reinders. He would have been an unbelievable player.
Nick here is talking about Chelsea earlier when he said top 4 domestic cup and a Champions League run is a good season for 25-26.
There we go. So that's what Chelsea fans are, though, now. Chelsea fans are just seeing that they should just be a Champions League club for a bit. I thought Chelsea were about spending 1.5 billion to go and win a title. This is what I keep trying to say to these fans, but they don't want to hear it. They've lowered the standards so much now that they're happy just to get a domestic cup and try and get top 4 again. That's not the Chelsea that I've known for the last 2 decades. It was, oh my God, we're bloody 4th. That's a horrendous season. But now they've changed their stance massively. They've just gone downhill massively, in my opinion. But that's what it is.
Osimhen is a better fit for Arsenal than Gyokeres and Sesko. He's a better scorer, finisher than Gyokeres and can fit the system much better than Sesko.
I'll be happy with Osimhen. I'll be happy with Osimhen. That's another one I've said. Osimhen, Gyokeres, and Alvarez are the 3, if it's not Isak, that I'd go for. And if they're not available, then it's going to be a very underwhelming signing, unfortunately. It is, it's hard.
English Talent FC says first got 181 million, second got 177 million, third got 171 million from the Premier League. Chelsea don't want to win the league to pay bonuses. Top 4 and competing is the aim. This is business.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe. I mean, you could be right, but it's a lot. They could have done what they've done without spending 1.6 billion, couldn't they?
Yep.
Like that's why I don't think it's all just about business, because they could have done it and spent a little less, personally. Potsy, the Athletic are saying whoever we sign, that Havertz will start the season ahead of them. So even getting Gyokeres will be irrelevant. He won't start the season according to the report. I want Yok.
Well, if we start the season with Havertz, then Liverpool and City will be rubbing their hands together. That's what I will say.
Why does it feel like we're broke? We've spent next to nothing for 2 windows. This ownership has done it before and might do it again. Money hungry.
Well, that's why there's a single problem within the club. The owners have been awful.
I will say this about this super chat. Although I've done a video today that's on my personal channel, Terry Lewis TV. You can scan the QR code to go and subscribe right there now. I am actually I like the way Berta operates, and I think it could do wonders for you. But to respond, I can't speak properly. To respond to, I'm like my computer, I'm breaking. To respond to Tony's point here, the Cronkies have done this before, and I remember having this conversation with Igal. It was one of our very assertive conversations with each other, where I said that just because you're improving doesn't mean you should take the foot off your owner's necks. And he got very offended by it, if I remember correctly. So there was another Gooner on the show as well. I don't remember who else was also defending them. And I said, look, you're doing great. You spent money, you're improving. You've improved some of the wages of players. You're acting like a big club. But you can't take your foot off their neck, because previously, and I know they weren't always your complete owners, but your club did have a habit of almost getting there, letting top players leave, and you didn't keep going every summer buying better, more. You kind of slowed down a little bit. And that's what Arsenal can't afford to do. Because if you do only spend 100 million this summer, that's not good enough. When you look at what City have done, when you look at what Liverpool are doing, and Liverpool, we haven't even got onto it. Liverpool fans and the Liverpool press, it's just all these little stories about Isak coming out. They still want him. They know it's going to be difficult. But I looked at the maths. It's difficult to get him away from Newcastle. because they didn't spend last year, Liverpool. Even if they drop 150 million on him, I think it takes their total spend to say 340 this summer. You divide that over 2 summers, that's like 170, 180 million over 2 years. That's not a massive amount of money.
Yeah, but all 3 of our clubs, yeah, obviously not yours, Terry. I'm talking about City.
I know.
All 3 of our clubs have the ability to spend. Yeah, Liverpool spent 10 million last year. City spent 20, and Arsenal spent 70. We're all in the Champions League. We all have players that we can let go. Yeah, and we got big players. So we got like Grealish, who's going to go 300 grand a week. KDB 400 grand a week. Liverpool will probably let a couple of go. Arsenal will probably let a couple of go. All our clubs have money to spend. All of us. You know what I mean? So when people are saying you can't spend 250, 300 million, it's waffle. It's absolute waffle. And Arsenal are at serious risk, yeah, of being left behind this summer. Now, there is still time left. Of course there is. But they didn't sign no one in January. And I would have expected Arsenal in the first week, 2 weeks of this window, yeah, to have got 2 players in, 3 players in. Bang, bang, bang. Yeah, because there's no excuses. There's no reason Arsenal couldn't have done that. None. Now, I think Zubimendi's done, personally. So that's 1 checked off the list. Yeah. But the other 2, the striker, the left winger, for me, they should have been done and dusted already. And I should be sat here on this panel going, Arsenal is serious. I'm sitting here thinking they might get left behind. There's no reason, there's absolutely no excuse for Arsenal not to have had the striker and the left winger sorted when they didn't sign anybody in January.
Mm-hmm. Well, look, if Liverpool do end up with Isak, I don't care what City do either. They're winning the league. With Salah staying at the club, with Wirtz coming in, 2 brand new fullbacks who are both brilliant, Van Dijk staying.
Well, why Arsenal rival Liverpool for this Isak signing? You might not get him, but why don't you ring up Newcastle and say, right, I'll tell you what, whatever Liverpool are offering, we'll pay 20 million pound more. Isak will pay another 50, 75, 100 grand a week more. We want you at our football club.
Facts.
What's going on here?
But I want Sesko over Isak because he's got more potential.
Yeah, it's honestly, it's just one of those deals.
They get there, Mark. I've just looked at Googling it. I've just done a bit of search now, and there is a lot of reports about Liverpool and Isak.
It's opinion pieces. It's journalists with a little bit of connection. Just saying, oh, he's the #1 target. I just see Flex here on Football Flex. Big up you, bro. He's titled his video "Scary." I have to say, I really should have. It's just everyone says everything's scary these days. Like legit, it is a scary thought, but it's just I feel proud of myself for that word. Everyone's using it. I've got not by Flex, but I've got abuse for it for years. And I do notice a lot of YouTubers now doing very similar types of content to me after abusing me for 2 years of twerking for other clubs. And then now they're doing, oh, Liverpool look amazing and City look great. Oh my God, they're doing a madness. I just sit there and think, can't beat them, join them, I suppose. Welcome to the club, people, of being objective. It feels very nice. But yeah, they get him. City have done very well this summer. And I actually think Turkey, not even just pound for pound, I think Turkey's both are going to be good. I think Turkey could end up being a better signing than Wirtz. But I just think with what Liverpool have got, if they get Isak as well, it's over. I just don't. I think they scored in all but 1 Premier League game last year. It's going to happen again. I mean, how are they not going to score in every game with a front line like that? I just don't see. And the way they play football, just don't get it to me.
You can see why Liverpool want to do that, though, because they know they've got 2 years left with Van Dijk and Salah. They're not going to go and buy another Van Dijk. They're not going to go and buy another Salah because they don't exist. So they know they've got 2 years left at the very top with 2 of the best players. That's why they need to now strike when the iron's hot. And Isak is doing that.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, no, exactly. You strike. You're right. You strike when the iron is hot. But what you also do is you're never finding a replacement for Salah. I saw stats. His stats are in the Prem are all now better than Henry. Goals per minute, goals and assists per minute, the amount of goals, the amount of assists, similar amount of games played. So from an output perspective, you're talking about his outputs are better than the general consensus GOAT of the Premier League, one of the best attackers we've ever seen. You're not replacing him, especially with a right-sided winger. So also what Isak does, I think Isak comes in as 2 years with the man, to be ready to take over his numbers. It will add to them now, but then eventually take over those numbers. Then it leaves Liverpool in a position where the new right-sided winger they bring in needs to be very good, but doesn't need to be Mo Salah, because by the time he comes in, Wirtz and Isak have taken the mantle as the star players, because being that Salah replacement, like being the main man, the Salah replacement, if you still say Salah did leave this summer and they kept Darwin, they kept Jota, they kept Diaz, and then they went and bought Bowen, the pressure on Bowen to be the new Salah would be so high. This way round, by the time Salah leaves, I don't think that same pressure exists because others will have picked up the mantle. But I think you're also right, Potsy, and LB agreed too. They're just going for it now. They're saying, listen, we're there. We've won a league title. Because Liverpool haven't retained the league title for 40-odd years. It's a massive thing to retain one. And, Arsenal haven't done it for a long time. City, of course, did during they've done it a couple of times in the Pep era. It's a different type of achievement. It's you can keep, I know you guys got a lot of points, but if someone said to me now, you can win the Premier League with 38 wins, no losses, or go back to back, I'm picking going back to back.
Well, you know what you're doing? You're entering your club into the best ever team Premier League era type thing. You know what I mean? Where you can't do that. No one, respectfully, no one's going to look at Leicester and say that team was one of the best teams ever to be in the Premier League. Not because they were shit or anything, because they won it once, right?
Yeah.
When you start to do back-to-backs and three-peats, or even four-peats, you start to look at it and say, okay, you're entering into a debate about, is that the best team the Premier League's ever seen or England's ever seen? You can't really do that when you win one, innit?
No, I totally agree. And I think that as much as you can go invincible, you can get 100 points, you can break goals conceded records, all of that is great. And it all has a place in the legacy arguments. But having seen my club do it and players talk about it, listening to, in a more contemporary sense, the City players talk about how hard it is to maintain it and how they're in awe of Pep, how he kind of keeps the motivation going, keeps his energy up. They feed off that. That's what makes it more brilliant. So many teams win something. You see this with a lot of fighters. They win a world title. They might have an easy defense here and there, but you almost see this like bloated nature of, I've achieved my goal now, I can relax, and there's a little drop off. So retaining it's just a different level. And unless you've experienced your team do it, I will say this, unless you've experienced your team do it, you don't really understand what it feels like to do it back to back. It's one of those things. This here says, obviously me and LB, we know. We've lived it. We've lived it. Arsenal doesn't need any trophies. We need a major trophy, not one that makes you the best at nothing but that comp. If that were true, then we would have won the EPL instead of the FA Cup back in 2021. Dan wouldn't be chirping as much as he is.
Where would you be with this, Dan? If you won the Carabao Cup next year, finish second, nothing else.
Yeah, I've taken quite a lot of stick for this, to be fair, as someone who's normally told that they're toxic and negative and needs to go and support Tottenham. I actually would keep him if we go right to the wire and we win a domestic trophy, because he's proven that he can get across the line with this team and install winning mentality into it. So then you go again next season. Now, some people are saying he needs to win the Premier League or the Champions League or go, and that's also fine if that's how they want to support their club and see it. But I personally just want to win a trophy. When you're starved, you can't poo-poo these trophies. You can't poo-poo the Carabao Cup when you ain't won it for over 30 years, yeah? Likewise, when you ain't won a Champions League or anything in Europe for that long and now over 20 without a Premier League, you can't sit there and say, I don't want that, I want this. You've got to take what you've got. And this team might, next season, compete all the way, fall at the last hurdle like we did against City a couple of years ago, and we've won a trophy alongside it. And do you know what? I'd say that's a fair enough season. That's the minimum expectation that I'm going for. Would I prefer to have an order of trophies? Of course I would. Rather win the FA Cup than the Carabao Cup. But I'll take a domestic trophy and go for a title race.
But I think this is the problem with a lot of these conversations. It's the lack of nuance and context is crazy. And a lot of people don't like context because they're quite polarized. But I suppose it's this. You only got to look at Spurs as the example. If you guys win the FA Cup or the Carabao Cup, but you finish 15th next season, 99.9% of Arsenal fans will be right in saying we've got to move on from the manager, especially after how long he's been there, as an example. But if you win the Carabao Cup, come a very close second to a brilliant Liverpool team, get to another Champions League semi-final and narrowly miss out, that trophy plus still being right up there, I think it buys him more time. At the end of the day, you're in a position where you might still want a new manager, but there is a trophy there. He's shown he can start getting over the line. I think it buys him more time. I think this kind of idea of it's only the big ones that matter now, that reminds me of what Potts used to say at Spurs, and I thought it was wrong. I think you've got to look at both. You want those domestic trophies, but being in league title races, having a genuine chance of winning the Champions League, those standards have to remain irrespective. When a manager's been at the club as long as Arteta is, when you're so by the end of this summer, it's going to be 700 plus million into building that squad. It has to be both. I don't think it'd be one or the other. I mean, yes, if you win the league and don't win any domestic trophies, you've won a trophy, so you're kind of getting it. But I just think he's got to take those trophies more seriously next year. He really does, because I think it will buy him more goodwill from a lot of fans, gives him more time at the club, and Arsenal need trophies. You're a massive team. Arsenal needed the most between them. City and Liverpool at the start, yet they are the slowest in the window. If Arsenal can't decide which striker they need, then what's the point of Berta joining in February?
I think we have decided who we want. I think we've decided it's Sesko, and I think that we're struggling to get that over the line smoothly. So Berta's trying to get the Gyokeres deal alongside it. That's what the rumour we're hearing. I think we have decided who we want, and it's Sesko. I don't agree with that. I think we should be going for Gyokeres or Osimhen or Alvarez or Isak, if this is true about Liverpool. But I think we're going to get Sesko, man.
Yeah, I've seen quite a few gooners say that, to be fair, and we will see. I'm confused. On one end, we get bantered for Arsenal spending close to $1 billion with no trophies, but then how are we saying the owners never spend?
No, we're not saying the owners never spend. We're not saying the owners haven't spent. The owners have spent, or they've allowed money to spend. What we're saying is the owners have showed zero ambition when we're that close to get across the line. So it's fine spending 800 million to get us back challenging, but now we're back challenging. What are we doing to try and get across the line? That's where we're at. Similar to Daniel Levy, to be fair. He's done good things at Tottenham, but when it comes to them actually trying to go to that next level, he's never done it. And this is what these owners don't want to do. And this is, it's what I said to LB earlier. We spent all that money to get back into the Champions League. Since we've been in the Champions League, we've done nothing to try and win anything.
Well, this is what the Glazers used to do regularly for United. If we missed out on Champions League football, they'd do the big one to get back into it. You get into it, you go, right, okay, we've got third this year. Let's go again. And hang on, have we ended up signing Cavani on the last day and bought Van der Beek that the manager didn't want, and we've missed out on our targets? And it was a case of you've got to keep going. You look at City. City had City were the best team in the world, and had 2 years of bad investment and not spending enough. And look how quickly the wheels fell off. And LB knows I'm not taking shots there. It's the truth. You have to keep going. This. You have to keep spending money. There is no doubt about it. Wrexham. Yep. Some say it's a fairy tale. Some say it's a lottery win. Doesn't matter. They've got back. They're in the championship now, I believe, right? They're in the championship. That's because they've spent money. If Ryan Reynolds and the other guy, can't remember his name, now stop spending, they'll end up going down. They'll end up falling away. And by the way, it's a lot more money needs to be spent now. My brother's team, Leyton Orient, got to the player final. They were gutted to lose. But there's quite a lot of Orient fans that were quite happy because the club almost can't afford to be in the championship. They already lose millions a year now, millions a month. To go into the championship, you have to have owners that are rich enough to lose tens of millions a year, because most clubs at that level lose money, and their owners aren't rich enough. So there's this view of almost like, well, going up could actually destroy us because they don't have the rich enough owners. If you do, you've got to keep spending. You cannot, in football, you have to keep spending. It's as simple as that. You can't get away from it. Checkbook manager, your club only wins because it spends money. Yes, and football's been like that for about 50 to 60 years. That's it. And it's why, if you look in the last 25 years, I think only 8 or 9 different teams have won the Champions League in a quarter of a century, compared to the previous quarter of a century where it was about 15, 16. And that's because the money has been more centralized around La Liga and the Premier League. You've had one French team, you've had one German team in that time, and one Italian team, I think. Maybe Juve in the early 2000s. I'll have to go back and look. But obviously, Italy still had money in the early 2000s because the 90s was massive for them. But that's dwindled away. And I know Inter have got to a couple of finals in that period, but there's a reason for that. It's the clubs with the most money that spend the most money that are winning those trophies. And you barely see a Champions League winner who doesn't have rich owners or a club that's already rich. Just go and look at the winners of the last 25 years. It's rich owner, rich owner, rich owner, rich owner, and they spend money. If you're not going to spend, you're not going to win consistently. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. AC Milan, yes, but again, when AC Milan were winning them in the mid-noughties, that's when Serie A was still big, and they had an amazing team, and they spent massive money. Ever since the money fell out of Serie A, you had Juve were for a few years, and Inter have been good, but the Italian teams every year, all 4 of them in the Champions League were always deadly. But the money's fallen out of the league. So that's why you've had, like, in 20 years, you've had like 2 Italian winners. Go back and look at the previous 30 years. Look at the Italian winners. But you used to have teams from Romania and France and Holland and Portugal winning this because the money was more evenly spread out. Since it's become centralized around two main leagues, nearly all the winners in the last English and Spanish. It's just because that's where most of the money is. We can't get away from this. We've got to be honest about these conversations. But after 5 years now, he's had his players. Isn't it the Premier League question? But during those 5 years, yes, win the domestic cups, it's 0.
Yeah,
I mean,
I agree with that. It's 5 years. He's had the money. It's his team. He's got to be the Premier League. But I would win a domestic cup alongside that if we do just miss out. And I think that isn't bare minimum expectation. Some people think that's way too like mediocrity. And it's just like, no, I ain't waited 6 years for a Carabao Cup. But I'd be willing to start there and then go on to something else. That doesn't mean he's won. Hey, that's it. It's over. Process successful.
Yeah, it's
going, man. You got to dominate.
It's never just about saying, well, he won that. That's enough. Don't need to worry anymore. I think the only time you get to that point with a manager is when you're like Pep, who's won everything. He'll get a year. But even with Pep, if next season they win nothing again and struggle to get into the top 4, there should be
pressure. Yeah,
there'll be pressure on him. And Fergie lasts so long because he had a couple of years. And by the way, there was pressure in those early mid-noughties. Those early noughties, sort of 03, 04 times. There was pressure in that period there when United weren't as good. We only fell down as low as 3rd, right? But there was pressure on him to turn it round and improve. And there was calls, is he too old? And it happens, and it should exist. It has to exist. If it doesn't, you're never going to win either. There has to be a happy medium here. Boys, listen, always a pleasure. Don't say Blackburn. Blackburn spent loads of fucking money to win. Maybe you're saying Blackburn spent money, but Blackburn spent loads of money to win. And I said win consistently as well. That's why Leicester didn't stay winning. Boys, always a pleasure to sit and talk football with you too. I want to thank everyone who's tuned in. Go check out my new channel. It's about football, but it's just, I'll be honest with you, I've started it because there's never enough time in a day to release all the things I want to say. So we're doing an upload almost once a day. An Arsenal one's dropped today. Got a big City one dropping tomorrow. I've already recorded it. A big City one where I'm backing Man City fans. Big time. So keep your eyes out for that tomorrow. Got a big Liverpool one dropping the day after that as well. So, but go check out Terry Flewis TV by scanning that QR code. This video is also going to redirect you to Footy Judge Mo's channel, I think. I don't know. Let me go and check. Yes, it is. So go support my brother over there. Boys, thank you very much for coming on. Big love. Take care. Goodbye. God bless. And I'll see you all again soon. Peace.